Hey guys, it's another beautiful day in North Carolina. The sun is shining, the birds are tweeting. It's not as hot as it has been, but it's pretty humid, which is pretty normal for this time of the year in North Carolina. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go out and I'm going to ride this. I will give you my rundown on this bike after 150 miles and explain some of the accessories that I put on it, and also show you a little bit of how I ride and how the controller works on this bike and everything else. So let's get started. Okay, let me see here. Turn some power on and power on here. Getting ready to go on my ride. Let's get the bike on. That's flared up. Samsung on. That's fired up. Show my batteries in place. Everything looks like it's starting to work like it's supposed to. Cool nicks, cut it on. Get my Wahoo on. Take a second for that to come on. All right, got that screen up. Hit my start. Okay, it has started. Picking up my heart rate. Let me angle that up a little. There we go. I want to make sure I get both of these monitors in. See if I can slip this back a little. That back a little. And that up a little. Maybe that'll read a little better. Now I'm going to reset my trip odometer. Now I'll go back. There we go. Now we're cleared. I've got 150 miles on the odometer and 0 on that. Right here is my voltmeter that I put on it. This will be the first time I've ridden with my voltmeter. And that comes in handy when I check both of my batteries. And I'll show you the reason why it's so handy. Cut my light off. Is right now I've got both batteries on. But if I want to check my rear battery, I just cut my front one off. Okay, my rear battery is at 54.4. Now if I want to check my front battery, cut it back on, and I'll cut my rear battery off. And it's 54.4, so both of them are reading identical. Now I'm ready to go. Looks like everything's working. Okay, I'm going to put it in 5th right now. Start off. Love these brakes. These brakes are great. And I did have to adjust the lever on my rear brake. I noticed that it was very close to the handlebar when I would depress it all the way down. And there's a little adjustment right behind the lever, which takes a little Allen wrench. And this is behind. Don't mess with any of these things up here on the top now. You don't need to be messing with those. But it's right in here. And I needed to tighten it up. It was loose. It backed itself out. It was very noticeable when I compared it to the one on the other side. My front brake. Okay, got my rearview mirror set, so that's set. I'm really liking this bike. I had mixed feelings on my first ride. If y'all watched my first ride, you may have anticipated that I had some question marks or doubt in that, which I did. But since then, I've worked out a lot of the bugs in this bike, and it did have a few bugs. But once those were worked out, and once I put my mods on it the way that I wanted, the same mods that I had on my electric XP, as soon as I did that, this is an entirely different bike now. I have to look down at these tires occasionally because with this fully suspension system, sometimes it feels like you've got a flat when you really don't. It's just that it absorbs these bumps. Hope it doesn't rain on me today. It's unpredictable. They're forecasting afternoon showers, hopefully after 5 o'clock. And over here to the left top, that's my cadence. I'll drop it a gear, get my cadence up a little bit. I like to run my cadence about 80. And as you notice, one thing that concerned me when I first got this bike, tried it out, was this slow acceleration. It just gradually builds up, which is completely different from the electric. The electric, as soon as that pedal assist kicks in, it goes to the full power of whatever PES mode you're in. So it's not like this. So it took some getting used to. This may be better for a lot of people. A lot of people complain, well, when I turn, if I'm pedaling and I turn, the bike gets away from me. Well, it won't do it on this one. When you quit pedaling like this and you start pedaling again, it's actually slowing down right now, and it'll reach a point now it's starting to catch back up. So it's very gradual. And I think a lot of people that are scared of these bikes may like this feature. My complaint about it was I didn't have that quick acceleration. Well, that's where the throttle comes in. If I want that quick acceleration, I do it with the throttle. And that way I'm not giving up anything as far as performance. Because when I hit that throttle like that, it kicks right in, it takes on off, and it'll go right to the peak point, and it'll stay there. But let me stop up here and turn on my strobes. I've got 4 strobe lights on this bike, 2 on the front, 2 on the back. And it helps those people see me. Strobe lights have 4 different settings, starting out with the light on full. So you can actually use the ones on the front. You can use those at night if you want to as headlights, so you know, it doesn't hurt. On my first ride, I had some issues with the controller. I had the PES modes one time just quit working. I went back and reset them a little bit, and they started back working, and I haven't had any problems with that since. And then the next day when I went out to ride, the speedometer was way off. I don't know what had happened, but it had cut down about half of what the speed was. And I played around with the settings, and I couldn't get it to come back. So I ended up having to do a factory reset. And when I did a factory reset, everything started working. So something glitched that controller in the settings in it. Don't know what. But they're really the only 2 big issues I've had with it. I'm really enjoying how much versatility the controller has. I mean, I'm running with the PES mode setting in the 0-9. I like a lot of different speeds. So when I ride with my wife and her electric is out of sync with mine, I've got a lot of versatility there to play around with to match her speed and everything. So I really like that. And it also, as I have mentioned in previous videos, your speed will drop from a fully charged battery down to close to empty. About, well, let's say down to 25%. From 100% down to 25%, you're losing about 3 miles per hour. If you've got a lot of different settings, say I like to ride in, let's say right now I'm in 5, well, I'm at a full charge. So if the battery's down, let's say 75%, 50%, somewhere in that, maybe I want to go to 6, because that's going to give me about the same performance that I was getting out of 5, because the voltage has dropped. And I put this voltmeter on here because they don't have a voltmeter on this bike. The electric did have a voltmeter. It didn't measure watts, it measured amps, which, you know, no big deal. All you got to do is convert one to the other. But the electric does have a voltmeter on it. And I need my voltmeter, especially running 2 batteries, because I've got to make sure that those batteries stay in line with each other, meaning the voltage level needs to be the same on both of these batteries all the way through the discharging range, which they do. I haven't had any problems. Smells something good. Somebody's cooking out tonight. Feels a lot better once you get going. Humidity around here is just, right now we're about 80 degrees here, maybe a little better, maybe 82, 83. But the adjusted heat is up in the 90s with all this humidity. But as long as I'm moving, I'm fine. Just when I'm stopped. Once I get out here on an open road, I'm going to go through the PES modes just to give you an idea of the settings on it and how you can play with the settings. I'm not going to go through the settings. I'm going to do a full thing on the controller in a different video. I'm not going to do it in this one. But it will give you an idea of what I've got set up right now on this bike. I've got my Kendall Craze tires on here. And this bike, I mean, that alone was a big change. It just got rid of the old hum from those knobbies that were on here. It gives you a smoother riding, it's a smoother riding tire, and it just quiets this bike way down. Okay, I'm getting ready to come up on the thoroughfare, so I'm gonna boost my up. I'm gonna go up to 8. Nothing coming. Okay, see how it's gradually going up. Now I'm gonna hit the throttle. So as soon as I hit that throttle, it goes on up. Hold that throttle down for 8 seconds. Kick it up a gear. I'm in 8th gear. All right, you can see my speed and you can see my cadence. Going up a little hill, I'll kick it down a gear. Get my cadence back up, and I'm off. Okay, got to stop light up ahead. Most of the stop lights around this area are trip, or a lot of them are trip. So you have to line your tires right over the cut in the road where they put the wire in, the sensor wire. And in most cases, the spike will trip it. Okay, I'm now in cruise control. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit my brake a little bit, and that knocks me out of cruise control. Now I'm just coasting. Okay, I'm gonna start pedaling. I'm gonna drop down to 6. With a fully charged battery, this 6 gives me enough power to get up to the speed that I want. My goal is right around 20 miles an hour. And see, it'll gradually get there. Just takes it a little bit. Okay, I've got a stop light, and I'll line up with this cut again. Okay, and I'm off. Okay, I'm gonna get up here. I'm gonna show you a little bit of how these PAS modes work. Got a little straightaway. I'll start out on a pretty level surface, but before I go through all of these, I will be on a slight decline. Well, I take it back. Just about this whole way is a very gradual decline down to a creek. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slow it down. I'm gonna go down to 1. Okay, I'm at PAS 1. I'm gonna go ahead and just use the throttle only to get me up to speed. Well, I'm up to speed. So I've got this set at 20%. You can go in and set each of your PAS modes. Okay, it's set at 20%. All right, I'm gonna up it to 2. I've got 2 set at 30%. And you'll see what this speed is. I'm gonna probably change these because this low end is a little bit too low. But I had to start out, so I just progressively put them up. I'm gonna go to 3. Went to 3. Now at 3, I've got that set at 40%. Now I'll go to 4. I've got 4 set at 50%. 5, I've got that set at 60%. 6, got that set at 70%. 7, I've got that set at 80%. I'm going up a slight incline. 8, I've got the 8 set at 90%. And 9, I've got that set at 100%. So this is throttle only at 100%. I am going slightly uphill, so it'll go a little bit faster than it's going now. Okay, I'm starting to get on level surface now. Okay, it's leveling out. Okay, that's how you can tell that the slightest little hill will knock your speed back. Okay, I'm gonna drop it back to 6. Okay, I'm at 6. I'm gonna hit the throttle and bring it up to the maximum speed in PAS 6. And I'm pedaling, if you notice. Even with the cruise control on, I pedal. And like I say, I try to get my cadence up to around 80. Now, it just so happens that the freewheel that I put on here, I changed from the stock 13-28T. The one that I put on here is 11-32T. And the smaller number is your high gear. So I went from a 13-tooth cog to 11-tooth cog. And it just so happens that the 7th gear now is a 13-tooth cog. So this gear I'm in right now is the same as the stock Polarna top gear, 8th gear. So this 7th now is the same as my old 8 was. And you see my cadence right now around 21 miles an hour thereabouts. I'm gonna go ahead and go up to the 11-tooth cog, which is my high gear, which is 8th gear, and you'll see my cadence drop down. Okay, it just went up. See how much it knocked my cadence down? I'm gonna go ahead and build up some speed so you can see what my cadence is at these different ranges. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop it back to 7th. So this is where your stock Polarna run. I'm gonna go up to 9, and you'll start seeing how high my cadence gets before I get there. Okay, I'm over 100 now, my cadence. And so that's my cadence. Now I'm gonna drop it into 8th gear, and you'll see what my cadence is. See, it knocked my cadence down to about 90. So that's a big difference. Okay, I'm gonna back off of it. Okay, another thing if you're keeping track of it, my percentage bar on my display, turn around, my percentage bar shows 100%. And I dare say it'll stay at 100% until my voltage drops to about 49 volts. As you can see, I'm already at 51.3. Got some raindrops hitting me too. Okay, I'm gonna drop my PAS moves down. I'll go down to 6, hit my brake, and I'll put the cruise control and set it up for 6. It's set up for 6. And this is where I like to be for most of my riding. And see, this top gear is too high for me at this speed, so I drop it down one to try to get my cadence up to 80 or a little above. And remember again, when I dropped it down to 7th gear, that's what the stock 8th gear is. So I'd be right now, if I was on it had a stock freewheel, I'd be in high gear, I'd be in 8th gear. But I'm in 7th with this new freewheel. And if you watched my first video, you might have heard me mention a knocking noise. I was experiencing a knocking noise. I had isolated it down to the rear hub axle area because I didn't want it to be the motor or the axle. So I was keeping my fingers crossed because I knew I was going to change that freewheel out. So lo and behold, I changed that freewheel. I got rid of that sound. So it was freewheel on this bike. It was making a knocking sound at higher speeds. It was more noticeable. The knocking was at higher speeds. Evidently, one of the lugs that catch in that freewheel was you've got a number of lugs that ratchet in place, and one of them was probably not in place, or the spring wasn't acting right or something. I don't know. I'm not going to take it apart and look at it. But this bike is super quiet. I was mentioned before with these tires how quiet it is. Well, I had these same tires on my electric, and it did the same thing. It quieted it way down. But I could really hear the motor on the electric from about 19 miles an hour up. That motor would really get to whining. And I don't hear it on this bike. This thing gets whisper quiet up here at the speed I'm going now. You just don't. What I contributed it to, part of it may be, the electric is rated at 500 watts. This one's rated at 750 watts. And you have to take both of those figures with a grain of salt, because there's no true way that these things are tested to determine these wattage outputs. So you just kind of have to rely on the honesty of the companies. At first I thought maybe this motor was overrated. I always felt like the electric was a little underrated, because for 500 watt it had a lot of punch. But I don't feel that way anymore. When I went in to do some rewiring for my auxiliary battery, I noticed that the controller in this bike looks identical. Wiring and everything looks identical to the one that I have in electric. It had the same power output ratings, same amperage ratings, everything. 18 amp, it was rated at 18 amps, and this one's rated at 18 amps. Well, you say to yourself, what's wrong with this picture? Because these motors are not governed so much about the wattage of the motor. They're more dependent on what the controller puts to the motor, because the controller controls the voltage that goes in. And I think what's happening is that this 750, starting to rain. I'm gonna turn and go back the other way. That ain't a good idea either. I know where places I can go. It's not good. I'm gonna have to find somewhere to get off. Sit here and wait for a little bit and see if this rain won't blow on over. Yeah, it's raining now. Well, this is one of the few times I've been caught out in the rain. But I've got a lot of things on here that are not waterproof. Matter of fact, let me see if I can't get a bag out. Got some waterproof bags. And until I can get somewhere it's not wet. My main concern is the electronics. For the time being, I'm gonna cover this stuff up. Okay, I think that's the main things that I have to worry about. These controllers. And I've got another one right in here. Okay, I'm back again. Ooh, rain heavy now. May have to run over to somewhere else. This tree seems to be shading me fairly well. How long it's gonna last. I don't know whether I'll make a shot for it or not. There's a church up about a half a mile from here that I can pull up and get under. Might do that. See how things go. I think I might do that. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, now everything's right steamy. Whoa, brakes are wet. Tell the difference. Take that cover off, and I might just leave the cover on the back here. Okay, the first time I've gotten caught in the rain this far from home. Usually I'm always fairly close to home, and I can just go home. I know what I need though. I need a rag. I have to start bringing me a rag just in case it does rain like this, so I can wipe things off. So everything's up. I'm down to 52.6 volts, and I've gone, how many miles have I gone? 8. Well, that's another thing. The mileage here says 8.54, and down here it says 7.5. So this is slow because I've got another GPS app. Matter of fact, it's on this other telephone. My regular phone is down here, and this is my old phone here that I just use on the bike. That's the only way I use it. And so I know that this GPS is fairly accurate. So as you can see, in 8.5 miles, the one on the bike is 1 mile an hour slow. Had the same problem with electric. Its odometer reads slow, which doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, and we'll compare speeds up here. I found out that I changed my setting on my speed to an 18-inch wheel. I had it on the 20, still showing 2 higher speeds, so I dropped it down to 18, and that puts it real close. It looks like I'm in with maybe a couple of tenths mile per hour of my GPS, so I can live with that. That's fine. Well, should I try to see if I can go down the road a little bit? Don't particularly like riding on this wet road, but I haven't started melting yet. But you don't ever know. As hot as it is, I might just melt right down. Be a bicycle with a glob or something down beside it. Now, if you notice, the voltage has dropped down to 50.7. When you are drawing power from the battery, your voltage drops. So see, I just stop my power from going to my motor and see how my voltage jumped right back up to 52. As soon as I start pedaling again, you'll see it start going down. I hit that, see it go down. So you're going to lose a couple of volts just kicking in your motor. And the more load you've got on it, the more that voltage will drop. The sky looks kind of ominous now. It didn't look this bad when I left the house, but maybe I can sidestep these showers. Hear a little rumbling in the background. Like these shifters, they seem to be working fine. They're smoother than the ones on the electric. Both of them are Shimano, and the ones on the Polarna are about 2 steps above in price range than the ones on the electric. And my brakes are catching again, so I got to ward off my brakes. The road looks dry here. I don't even think any of the rain. I'm going to do a speed. I wasn't going to do my speed because I thought the road was wet, but it's not. I'm going to go down here, and again, I've done this on previous videos. There's a bridge down here that I usually get a good top in right before I get to the bridge. So we'll see what happens. Well, things cooled off a little bit anyhow, but it hadn't rained a drop here. Typical summertime showers. Pouring down rain in one spot and dry in another. My 360 camera, the last time I rode this bike, I had the frame rate at 30 frames per second, and I was out of phase with the monitor, the Polarna monitor down there. They were out of phase, and I was getting that blind effect, like blinds across the screen. So I changed my frame rate to 24. And I think that corrected the problem. Right, that's enough to dry my bike off, nothing else. Yep, that's the worst rain that I've been caught in since I've had an electric bike, and I've got over 5,000 miles riding. Of course, that was on my electric. Maybe got caught out in a little bit of a rain, but could get back to the house before anything really happened. I really like this suspension on this bike. I thought maybe I wouldn't need a suspension seat post, but after I rode this without the suspension seat post, I decided I did need that, and I did. The rear suspension on this is not that much, so I put Sun Tour suspension post back on it. The one I've got on it is the one that has kind of a scissors effect to it. It's not the one where the cylinder goes up and down. The seat tube has a cylinder that's inside of it and it goes up and down. This one doesn't do that. This one works much better. It's much better than the Zoom, and I forget the other one that I had. But anyway, it's more expensive, but it's a better design seat post. Rather than your seat going straight up and down, your seat rotates back and down, back and down, back and down. So it's more in the flow with the rotation of the wheels. So somebody online said. They seem to know what they were talking about. There's a source of information, a immense source of information about bicycles in general and e-bikes online. Most of the content is pretty good, but consider your source when you are watching these things, because there is some misinformation in some of these videos, but for the most part, they're good. Park Tool has a series of videos on YouTube for different things, adjusting your radios, adjusting your brakes, your seats. That's a good source to go to. They're real good videos. They're done by professionals that know what they're doing. So if you want to know how to do something along those lines, I would check their website out. Of course, you don't have to, you can go to their website, but you can also just go to YouTube and put in a Park Tool, and they'll come up. They have a real good one, I know, on adjusting your rear derailleur. And since I put my rear derailleur on, I went to them to back up for what knowledge I had, because it's been a while since I've really messed with derailleurs and adjusting them. It's always good to refresh your memory. I've got about a 30-year gap between the time that I rode touring bikes and this e-bike, so a lot has happened in that 30 years. The suspension's so nice. This is a rough road. This is one of the rough roads I ride on, and paved roads, and it's altogether different. Now, don't think that your bike won't jar a little bit, the bike itself, because you know, the wheels and things are still depending on the tires for any give. They're not part of the suspension system, other than the tire itself. Which these 4-inch tires are nice. They really give you a lot of softness, ride softness. I'm used to these little skinny sub 1-inch wide tires that you have to inflate 90 to 100 pounds, and you can run over a grain of sand and feel it. I heard something just beep. I'm not sure what it was. I'm going to stop here and check and make sure that wasn't my sound just cut off. That beeping sound was my 360 camera battery going out. I will finish this ride with the dash cam camera. Well, it's starting to rain, so I need to head on home as fast as I can. I think I probably said enough for today anyway. Yep, hear the rumbling in the sky. Starting to get a little dark. Time for me to go home. A little less than a mile from my house. It doesn't look good. At this point, I knew I'd fucked up. I should have gone home after getting caught in the first shower. Let me put something over the instruments. Home sweet home. Okay guys, I appreciate y'all watching this video. Hope you learned something. If not, hope it's been enjoyable. So until next time, y'all have a nice day.